how much of our brain do we actually use? You might have heard the popular claim that we only use 10% of our brain. But is that really true? What if I told you that this idea might be one of the biggest misconceptions out there? Let's unravel the mystery behind this fascinating question and discover the incredible potential of our brains. Let's talk about where the 10% myth even came from. This idea seems to have originated in the early 20th century, possibly from misinterpretations of neurological research or from claims made by early psychologists like William James, who suggested that we only use a small portion of our mental resources. Over time, this idea became popularized through media, movies, and even self-help books, leading many people to believe that 90% of their brain power is just sitting there untapped. But what does modern neuroscience say about this? The truth is, we use virtually all parts of our brain, and most of the brain is active almost all the time. Brain scans, like those done with functional MRI, fMRI, show that even when we're at rest, our brain is far from inactive. The brain's activity can be seen in different regions depending on what we're doing, whether it's solving a math problem, recalling a memory, or even daydreaming. So, what are all these different parts of the brain doing if they're not just sitting idle? Let's break it down. The brain is an incredibly complex organ made up of billions of neurons that are constantly communicating with each other. Different areas of the brain are specialized for different functions. For example, the frontal lobe is involved in decision-making, problem-solving, and planning, while the occipital lobe is primarily responsible for visual processing. The temporal lobe plays a crucial role in hearing, language, and memory, and the parietal lobe helps us navigate spatial relationships and understand sensory information. But even these specialized areas don't work in isolation. The brain is a highly interconnected network, meaning that many regions work together to accomplish even the simplest tasks. For instance, when you're reading a book, you're using not just the areas associated with visual processing, but also regions involved in language comprehension, memory retrieval, and even emotional response, depending on the content of what you're reading. So why does the myth persist? Part of the reason might be that the brain is so complex, and there's still so much we don't fully understand. The idea that there's untapped potential in our brains is certainly an appealing one. It suggests that we could unlock superhuman abilities if only we could access that unused 90%. It's also worth noting that the brain can be incredibly efficient. Not every neuron needs to be firing at once for us to perform a task, and the brain does have mechanisms to conserve energy. However, this doesn't mean that large portions of the brain are inactive. Rather, different regions are active at different times depending on what we're doing. Moreover, the idea of brain plasticity or neuroplasticity adds another layer to this discussion. Neuroplasticity refers to the brain's ability to change and adapt throughout life in response to experience, learning, or injury. This means that while we may use all parts of our brain, how we use it can change over time. This adaptability is what allows us to learn new skills, form new memories, and recover from brain injuries. But here's something even more fascinating. The human brain is still not fully understood. Scientists are continuously discovering new things about how it works, how it stores information, and how different regions interact. The more we learn, the more we realize that the brain is far more powerful and complex than we ever imagined. So what can we take away from all this? For one, it's important to dispel the myth that we only use 10% of our brain. The reality is much more impressive. We use nearly all of it, all the time. This doesn't mean we've reached the limits of our cognitive abilities, though. The brain is incredibly adaptable, and with the right stimulation, training, and experience, we can continue to grow and improve our cognitive functions throughout our lives. Lastly, this knowledge can inspire us to take better care of our brains. From staying mentally active to eating a brain-healthy diet, there are many ways we can support our brain's health and function. So next time you hear someone say we only use a fraction of our brain, you can confidently set the record straight. And there you have it. The myth of the 10% brain usage has officially been debunked. But the more we learn about our brains, the more we realize just how amazing they really are. So, take care of your brain, challenge it, and never stop learning. If you found this video enlightening, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries of the human mind. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep exploring.